What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I do video game reviews. And this review is sponsored by QME, Questionable Meats Incorporated. Cheap, possibly delicious mystery meats delivered to your home in your own poorly refrigerated loot boxes, directly from South African suppliers. Questionable meats, when health just isn't that important. And speaking of health, you know what? Most games are about killing, but here's a game that isn't. It's about what happens afterwards. It's called Serial Cleaner, and it's not about an abused spouse that tries to hide it from the world by having a home that's damn near antiseptic levels of clean. Instead, it's about you, the player, stepping into the sharp-dressed body of a murder cleaner for hire. Think Harvey Keitel in Point of No Return, a solid, cool, less words, more action dude who sprints to various murder scenes to clean them up of evidence. Let's see how the game did, shall we? As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's my review for Serial Cleaner, the world's best wet vac, lift with your legs, not your back, and hiding all the crack. Graphics are up first. So the moment you actually turn this game on, you notice that the title goes for something a bit different. It's a bit like Hotline Miami if the artist did 7 pounds of LSD, twisted the game into a more isometric camera angle, and then, high on life I guess, went out to their local arts and crafts store and bought the entire bin of construction paper and just started gluing shit together. And I have to say, strangely enough, this actually works. From the funk and swagger of the cleaner, who has his bristling Ron Jeremy mustache that's almost big enough to work as a blind person's cane, he sprints through the levels to the bent-angled cutscenes. Everything from bit to bit to bit just looks really unique. Now, Serial Killer goes for a spectacular look that may not be high polygon counts and various ambient occlusion settings, but it's maxed out in atmosphere, and I think they hit it off here. Sadly, that doesn't mean there's not a problem or two. The pastel and the color-heavy look of the levels and their basic geometry can actually make it a bit tricky to figure out if you can pass by something or if it's a solid object. They try their hardest to make sure that it doesn't happen, but sometimes you'll be running up the side of a house and try to sprint past it with bipedal heavily armed donut eaters or BHADEs hot on your trail, but you actually can't go past it. It didn't happen all the time, but it's worth mentioning that there's a little bit of frustration there. Also, this is not a game that has a colorblind option, and I honestly feel like of all the games out there, this one probably needs one. Now, that being said, the game requires very little from your PC, and anyone with cards stretching back all the way 2 to 3 generations should still absolutely be fine here, since it's really not that kind of game. Also, when launched, the game did have a bug and it wouldn't load for some folks, but that bug's been removed completely, and it's been a bug-free experience throughout. As a package, I'd say, really fantastic, with a couple little issues with design. Sound, music, and voice. And as always, when it comes to audio category, sounds up first. To me, this is actually a bit disappointing. While the game's excellent visuals indicate things like how far your footsteps are traveling via graphical effect, their overall lack of actual sound samples, and in general, pretty much lean approach to everything, results in a game world that I think makes you feel like you put fucking cotton swabs in your ears before playing. While things like your Hoover Bloodsucker 2000 make sounds, most of the actual sound you're going to hear in this game are little things like cops grunting when they notice something odd or the scrape of some box moving when you try to change an enemy's patrol pattern. Ambient and in some cases normal direct sound samples would have really helped here. It's a minimalistic approach, but I think coupled with the art style itself, sometimes minimalistic just feels like an artist put up a white piece of paper and hopes someone buys it for $2 million. I have to say, hit and miss. Music. So this is actually pretty good. It's a funky 1970s inspired soundtrack, so that means it's filled with percussion and various horns. It's got a really good smooth jazz sound to it, and also reacts to the gameplay. I have to say, kudos to them for the electric piano organ synth as well. When that thing starts playing as you're ducking behind dumpsters hiding from the prying eyes of the popo, it actually really works well to elevate the atmosphere. Voice. Barely any, so let's move on. Gameplay, and of course, a little bit about the story. Meet Serial Cleaner. He likes crime drama, Hoover vacuums, and the kinds of sunglasses only Buford T. Justice and those scary Southern police officers like to wear. His main job is to perform the fine art of cleaning up after every criminal element from bad money deals gone wrong to delusional drug-fueled shootouts have filled the game with levels of blood like a mob version of The Shining. You end up taking missions from your main base. This is a small home where you have a nice little Death Academy Awards section of items that you steal from some of the murder scenes and a couple interactables, and you jet off whenever anybody calls you to do a job. Now, when you get there, the game is real time with you tasked with specific things like removing 3 bodies of evidence, hiding some bodies, and wet vacuuming a specific amount of blood to ruin the evidence. When it comes to bodies and evidence, you have to return them back to your vehicle as you pick them up. Now, each location is guarded by an assortment of police officers, which patrol around the area, and make no mistake, while you can book it like a motherfucker, if a cop sees you, it's like they suddenly injected themselves with universal soldier serum, and they will chase you down with reckless abandon. It's possible to escape sometimes, but you have to be pretty perfect to do so because, man, I'm telling you, when they are not on alert, it's fine. But the moment they do, hound dogs have less success than these guys. Now, the juice to me here is the setup of the game. As the game progresses, you're introduced to various gameplay elements, none of which really slow down the gameplay, but instead alter it slightly when it comes to strategy. The ability to hide in very specific places, the ability to move specific objects that can draw police officers' attention, possibly change their patrol route or away from the crime scene. These are absolute musts on later levels, especially as they start to get friggin' huge. And it's that interplay of really incredibly fast gameplay with light strategy that highlights the excellent moments of this game. I found myself sprinting full speed through a room to get to a body on the other side, but also sucking up a swath of blood as I did so, fulfilling my plan of removing the blood evidence, but also not stopping me from my forward movement to the goal. I love the speed. It's when you grab a body while you're slowed down, you're still moving at a good clip, and sometimes the heat will get on you and you drop the dead person in the middle of the room and sprint to a hiding place, watching as the cops are probably trying to figure out if they're living in a zombie movie. There are no weapons here either. It's all about armed absence and not conscious obliteration. When it comes to the length of the game, this is about 5 to 6 hours long. Now, that doesn't include playing through some of the movie-inspired levels that you have to find unlockables in the main game to do, and it has you sprinting through a spaceship or other B-movie-inspired locations. Also, the main character, as he does these things, can get new clothing options. For $11.99, which is the cost of the game, I actually think that's a good amount of content for this particular style of title. Fun factor, I loved it. I love the mixture of speed with strategy here, and I was sprinting through the ghostly confines of some dock warehouse and changing, adjusting, and modifying my plans even as I cleared the blood from the floor. It is really cool to think on your feet like this. It is speed stealth action at its finest, and to me, the tit for tat of chance versus reward is actually very well done here. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale, with rent being replaced by deep, deep sell for PC. This is, of course, a buy. The game just has a tremendous amount of fun gameplay for the amount of money that you're paying out. It's something unique, it's certainly enjoyable to do, and there's some replayability if you do want to go back and try things differently because it is a very flexible game when it comes to the strategies and how they play out. I really enjoyed this title. So that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.